The Houston Rockets have found a hidden gem just one game into the NBA preseason. As former G League MVP J.D. Davison shows, the Rockets may actually have a little less worry now when it comes to their point guard situation. We talk about it here today on Rockets Digest. Welcome everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. Before we get going, got a quick note for you on some exciting news happening here at Digest Media. We've got some openings. We're excited that we are opening up some Rangers content. We've also got a Texans channel that we're maybe looking for some extra people on. And guess what? That could be you. If you've ever wanted to break into the sports media industry, talk about your favorite teams, we've got some openings. Go down, hit that link, give us some of your information, and who knows, maybe it could be you in just a couple months doing exactly what I'm doing here, living out some sports media dreams, getting to talk every single day about your favorite team and having thousands of people watch along with you. And speaking of which, let's talk about the Houston Rockets, because last night they opened up their 2025 preseason schedule as they faced off against the Atlanta Hawks, and they won the game, 122-113. But that is not the story, my friends. It is J.D. Davison, the former G League MVP, the two-way contract that the Rockets signed away from the Boston Celtics. Well, guess what? He had 17 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds, all in just 22 minutes in his first preseason game with the Houston Rockets. I'm not going to be forward, but I am. The Rockets may actually have less to worry about in the point guard room if J.D. Davison can continue to play at this level. People who were at the arena were impressed with him. Media across the landscape were impressed with his performance. And it's one thing because he was a G League MVP. We understand this. But putting up these stats, doing stuff like this, first game with an organization in just 22 minutes is really, really exciting. 17 points, 5 3-pointers, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. He was a plus 13 when he was on the court. Coming off the bench, he was the only guy off the bench to score double digits. And I'm very, very excited to see what he could potentially mean for this Houston Rockets team going forward. So, want to talk about that bench real quick because it actually was very good. Now, it is the preseason. Everybody's going to play, the same amount, but J.D. Davison, most minutes off the bench by 2. He beat out Aaron Holiday by 2 minutes. He was plus 13 on the court, 17 rebounds, had only just 1 turnover, which turnovers were kind of an issue for him in the G League last year, so kind of nice to see just the 1. And it's an exciting time because you're also thinking 9 points from Kayvon Harris, 8 points from Aaron Holiday, 8 points from Clint Capella, 8 points from Steven Adams. He was a -4, which is not in the normal for Steven Adams. Usually when he's on the court, the Rockets are always plus, but we're going to just chalk that up to it's the preseason. Things happen, and the Rockets, had a very good time with Jeff Green, who had plus 11, but just had 2 points. So that is your bench totals. We had a short out yesterday to talk about the starters. Kevin Durant did not play, just as a heads up there. I think that this is a situation where we probably won't see Kevin Durant. You have to understand he's 37 years old. It seems like Ime Udoka might want to play him, but I don't know. We'll talk about that when that does come around. But speaking of this, I want to talk about Ime Udoka, what he said on J.D. Davison after the game, saying, quote, "He's been great, very aggressive, handles it well, makes good decisions out of the pick and roll. He's a big boy who can pick up full court, so he brings aggression on both sides of the ball." Obviously, there's a lot of excitement. Obviously, given the injury to Fred VanVleet, any sort of point guard like excitement is something to be very, very, aware of. But it is the preseason. This is not the normal thing. But if you look at this Rockets depth chart, J.D. Davison has a very easy vie to being a rotational guard on this team, and if he's putting up that type of minutes and that type of points, maybe even more than that. Reed Sheppard, Aaron Holiday, Amin Thompson, and J.D. Davison are your 4 point guards that are on the roster. Just as a reminder, Davison has a 2-way contract, meaning he has a limited amount of games he can play in the NBA and a limited amount of games he'll play in the G League. It's pretty split, even I think like 41-41. I would not be surprised if the Rockets, before the preseason is up, if Davison continues to play like this, maybe they sign him to a full contract. If I do my math right now, they have 14 roster slots filled out of 15. That 14 roster spots does include Fred VanVleet as well. So in theory, you have an extra roster spot with him. So you're talking 2 roster slots empty. I would also not be surprised to see a couple other guys maybe get a roster slot. Cameron Matthews is a guy that I really do see potential to get one of those roster slots, but this is nothing new from J.D. Davison. Last year in the G League, 25.1 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, and 7.5 assists. He was a part of an Alabama team that went all the way to, I believe, to the Sweet 16 back in 2022 area. And he was a 2022 round 2 pick 53. He's been in the G League his entire career. He's played with the Maine Celtics really his entire time in the NBA, or not even NBA, professional level, because the Rockets, or rather the Celtics, just really had no use for him. And given their needingness to get under the second apron, they were paying J.D. Davison more than they were wanting to, so they released him. The Rockets immediately hopped on it, got him to a pretty good two-way contract. More expensive than probably most two-way contracts, but I think deservingly so. And I truly do believe he could pick up, potentially being maybe more than a two-way contract. Ben DeBose had a report on it, talking about it, saying, quote, "Through 1 week of training camp and an exhibition, it's newcomer J.D. Davison, last season's G League most valuable player with the Maine Celtics, Boston's affiliate club, who is suddenly making a push for some of those vacated minutes." I find this intriguing because when Fred VanVleet went down, it was Reed Sheppard's going to be the guy, and he played actually very, very well. I think in some aspects, it was a good thing to see because you're talking about doing that, but also I want to make sure the Rockets look at all possibilities, and I think in some way, they're not going to make a move until the season starts anyway, so that's something to note. But Ime Udoka actually talked about J.D. Davison even before the game, saying, quote, very aggressive, handles it well. And the bottom line here, the stuff that we hadn't started, he's taken advantage of the opportunity. As soon as Fred VanVleet went down and training camp started officially in Houston, it was J.D. Davison getting a lot more reps, because if we go back to this depth chart here, if I can go find it real quick, you look at the guys. Amin Thompson is going to play a majority of the shooting guard, so Reed Sheppard and Aaron Holiday and J.D. Davison are going to be your point guards. Now, at the same time, they have to play, you're playing 5-on-5 a lot of times. You're trying to run both sides. So you're talking Reed Sheppard, Aaron Holiday. J.D. Davison is going to immediately slide in to either the 1 with Reed Sheppard or the 2 with Aaron Holiday, and has taken valuable minutes in training camp and really performed well in the first preseason game. I'm not going to say it yet because it is just the preseason, but I sense across the media, across the way that people saw at the game, that J.D. Davison will have a significant impact on the Houston Rockets 2025-26 NBA season. That is not my words. That is words of media personnel. That is words across the landscape of the Houston Rockets. And I think that this actually could be a huge, huge boost to the Rockets given the loss of Fred VanVleet. Reed Sheppard also looked great. I think the last little footnote there is he did look good. So I don't think you need to have J.D. Davison be like, anything crazy special, but at the same time, it would be very nice if we could get him into a position where he's rotating in solid minutes, doing the right things, and potentially even taking some, taking some minutes at the NBA level and taking some, not garbage time minutes, I think is the biggest key in that notion. So with all this being said, let me know what your thoughts are. Ime Udoka seems to have a very good kind of read on him. 6'3", 215. The 23-year-old has enough size and strength to appeal to head coach Ime Udoka, who wants strong defense to be the foundation of his teams. Guess what? On top of which, J.D. Davison is a very good defensive player on this as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you see J.D. Davison as a guy who could be a full roster slot for the Houston Rockets? Do you believe that this is a guy who will play a significant impact to the Houston Rockets season, especially after the Fred VanVleet injury? Let me know down in the comment section all of your thoughts. But for now, that's all I got for you. We'll see you next time here on Rockets Digest. Peace out, guys.